Hi gang, I thought I'd go into a little bit more detail about project management based on the short conversation we had yesterday about it. So just let me erase this here and just let's think through it a bit. So imagine that this is your project that you're working on, your project team, and you've got members of the team here, and each member of the team is going to have over the course of the project a variety of projects to work on. Some little guys, some big parts of the project, some starting in week 1, some not starting till week 3, etc. But everybody's going to have their own discrete little projects, and sometimes they'll work together on stuff, sometimes individually. So the project leader, in terms of project management, really needs to be able to communicate with everybody on the team and pull together the various parts of the projects and the tasks. So one of the ways to think about tasks in project management is to think about 3 aspects of it. Who's doing it? What are they doing? And when will it be finished? So those 3 W's are really the sort of key to project management. And if you don't have any one of those, you really don't have a task. Specifically, the when is the most important thing. It doesn't, if you just say somebody's got to look into audio, but you don't know who's doing it and you don't know when that's due, that's not really a task. That's just a notion. Right? You really need to assign somebody to it, and you need to assign a deadline to that person. So it's important to, first of all, identify what needs to be done, who's going to do it, and when's it going to be done by. And when you do that, then you have a task and a project. So if you think about it in sort of a spreadsheet kind of format, you could have and we'll go over this in more detail in class, the sort of what category, who, and then deadline. And if you start lining up projects that way and filling in those blanks, you start to have a project plan. Sometimes you'll have projects, if we think about this in sort of a timeline, sometimes you'll have tasks that take, maybe this one takes a week and this other one starts here. Sometimes you have projects that have tasks that have what are called dependencies. So if this is copy editing here, if this is story writing here and this is copy editing, well really I can't start the copy editing until the writing's done. And in fact, I'm just going to put that line there. That's a dependency. So if this part of the project here moves a week, then this part of the project has to move a week because it's dependent on it. So really the whole thing has to shift. Sometimes you might have parts of a project that aren't dependent. There's no dependencies. So one thing can take place. So it might be scouting photographs along with copy editing. If the photographs get shifted a little bit, that doesn't mean that the copy editing of this document over here is going to change. So those are independent aspects of the project. And you need to sort of think through your dependencies so that when you have project drift on a particular part of a project, what's dependent on it also moves along with it, so you don't get them sort of orphaned, and then you think, well, I thought I was going to do that, but I can't because that shifted the project, right? So that's sort of really basic project management 101. It's also really important that there's strong communication so that you know the status of a project. So one of the other aspects of project management is good managing of status. So I'm just going to get the eraser here and erase out some of this kind of stuff here and talk about status for a bit. So status can be whatever you want it to be. Different projects have different kinds of status lines. So in a project that is a writing project, you might have a status that's first draft, second draft, etc. Copy edited, approved, and then sort of imported into the iBook format in this case, right? And it's important to know for each piece of content, what's the status of that content, what stage of the process it has gone through, and it's also important to know in those stages of the process who touched it last. So if it is in a second draft stage, who's the person that did that? Because if you don't know that, it's really easy to get lost in who touched what, who edited what and stuff. Now, fortunately, in things like PB Works, which we're using for the canonical documents for the iPad project, for example, it's easy to track that. You can see who made the version history shows you that who touched the document last. In other kinds of content, less easy to do. So you might want to use something like Google Documents to allow you to do that kind of tracking. And that's something that the project manager in each project should set up, and I'm just erasing this out here so we can talk about that for a bit. The advantage of using something like Google Docs is that you can set up spreadsheets. Some of you may not be familiar with spreadsheets, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. Spreadsheets were originally set up, as I'm sure many of you know, to deal with numbers. A lot of people use it also as a project management tool. It's not ideal for me because it really was set up for numbers, but a lot of people do use it for simple project management as well. So although there are some hardcore project management tools that are very specific to doing this kind of stuff. But it's pretty easy to use Google Documents to set up a project. The advantage of us using Google Docs is you can have tabular format like this, but you can also share the document so other people, even concurrently, can go in and work on a shared spreadsheet so that it's not the project manager's sole responsibility. And in a project, project spreadsheet, I would do something like you'd have task, you would have person, you would have started, end, and status, and you might have a notes field as well over here that would give you, sort of written notes on stuff. So the task could be investigate audio, for example. The person could be Nanette. When did it start? Was February 7th, and then the when it ends will be, I think it was 14th or something. And then the status is just 2% complete or something if you started it. So, and that status can be a number, a percentage. If you're doing really serious project management, it would actually be a percentage that moves along, or it could just be first stage, second stage, whatever you set those out to be. And you have different people's names in here. This is really helpful because each of these fields in the spreadsheet can be sorted. So if you just want to see all the statuses that are complete, you can search that way. If you want to see all the tasks that are associated with Nanette, you can do it that way. On stuff that's due this week, you can set it up and sort that way, so you can really see very easily where you're at in the project, and other people coming into the spreadsheet that have a shared spreadsheet can see that as well. So using the Google Documents with the tabular format is a superior way to just using a PBWorks plain text document, because you've got these fields that you can sort on. And of course, you can, once you create this spreadsheet and then share this spreadsheet in Google Docs, you can just put a link to it in the PBWorks document to say, work spreadsheet for this project, and just link to it and put a hyperlink into the actual PBWorks document. So I hope that's a quick overview of how I think you should work through a project. I really encourage you to create a Google spreadsheet to track your tasks, and you can also use a separate document to track project pieces, particularly on the iBooks projects when you're going to have dozens, if not hundreds, of files to deal with. It's really valuable to have a spreadsheet where you can track status and search on status, so you just don't go insane, and that everybody's on the same page and know where things are at. So I hope that's helpful. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.